Good afternoon. This is Media Center Ukraine Odesa, and we are starting with the discussion of alternative ways and possibilities of sea cargo delivery to the ports of Ukraine. Our speaker is Oleksandr Yatsenko, rector of the Odessa Institute of Maritime Management and Enterprise. Good afternoon. We are glad to see you here. Last week, we had in Odessa Volodymyr Zelensky and the Prime Minister of the Netherlands. And following the results of this visit, Mr. Kubrakov mentioned that Ukraine was looking for the ways to widen this corridor. How do you think, what are the tools, mechanisms to expand this temporary corridor grain? You see, the word grain was indicative for the joint agreement between Ukraine and Russia with the intermediate to Turkey, and that covered only grains. But after the Russia left the agreement, we started our own project of the safe access to our ports of the south and west of the Black Sea. This is our own initiative in the cooperation with Romania, Bulgaria, international organizations. And it has its own capacity and management tools. There has been a remarkable event that insuring companies, P&I, English clubs, and the Lloyd Insurance Corporation agreed to insure risks following our route with our monitoring support. That's why the grain is not the only commodity which is covered by that corridor, because we can see the call of tankers, container carriers. That's why our own format to expand possibilities is wider than the grain deal. That's why the framework is wider as well, both used and still to be used. For example, it is possible in territorial waters of Romania to use the Chernava Canal that connects the Danube on the Romanian territory with the Romanian port of Constanța. And thanks to the agreement with Moldova, we can bring commodities by railway to our Danube ports, and it could be sent then to not only to the Ukrainian territory, but to the Romanian territory. And because of the current of the area, because of the drought, those areas are free, and they can be freighted with quite competitive prices. There is one more possibility: to access to the territorial waters of Romania, not through our straits of Bystra and Ust-Dunaysk port, but also Sulin Strait that reaches the territorial waters of Romania. Romania is a NATO member, and if someone dares to do something in its territorial waters, then it will be an international incident. And I don't think that the Russian Federation will dare to do something there. That's why there is inadequate response. We can see drone and missile attacks on the whole Danube infrastructure of Ukraine. This is a significant burden. More than 300,000 tons of grains have been lost. These are direct losses. But it's worth it because there is the possibility to ship millions tons of grain. This is not the whole our potential, but anyway, it provides us with the possibility to get revenue in foreign currency. And this helps to deal with both civilian and military activities in our state. What else can be offered or used? There is an alternative route. And the possibility of its usage has been discussed already, is to use river barges and also all the steamships of the Danube River. And there is the so-called Danube Commission envisaging joint conditions of use of barges and towers along the whole Danube River. And this actually, in Serbia, they can now also use railway transport or road transport for further transportation of those commodities to the sea coastline of former Yugoslavia. There is one more alternative route that can be used. One more thing which is not related to the Black Sea. These are our relations with Poland and the possibility to use Polish ports. But it has been blocked a bit with kind of a misunderstanding of how we can use Polish territory not only for the transit. And we can see some problems with the interests of the Polish producers of grain. And that is also related with the elections that took place in Poland the day before yesterday. And that was kind of problematic. One more possibility here. We have grain. And we could have sold it as the commodity at the commodity market to earn some money. But since it is not possible now, we, for example, can do the following, and it can be professionally studied. In Brazil, 45% of car fuel is ethanol. This is spirit of the vegetable origin, and all trucks and all cars in Brazil use such type of fuel. Because in Brazil, they produced a lot of plants that can be used for ethanol production. We could do the same. Thus, we can decrease the burden on the import of fuel and lubricants, because we are not that active in the production of these commodities. The plant in Odesa is in the standby mode. In Kremenchuk, it has some problems. That's why we import from Europe oil products, and we spend money for that. So you are now offering to use the grain that we cannot export to produce ethanol. Actually, our factories use beetroot and grain to produce spirit. And we can just use the grain harvested last time to produce fuel for some specific transportation, like passenger cars, trucks, and other types of transport. So we just need to have a different approach to solve the problem, to diminish the burden and negative consequences for our inability to sell all our grains at the international market. And this is my vision. I'm involved in scientific and commercial discussions of these topics, and I can see some prospects for that. And we can use some additional measures to improve the cooperation between the civil and the military sector to ensure safe transportation of our exported grains. The sea safety and security is ensured by several institutions: the Coastal Guard of the Ministry of Internal Affairs, our naval forces, hydrography of the Ministry of Infrastructure and Territories, with Mr. Kubrakov. Some of them define routes, others protect those routes. There are some innovations introduced, and interaction between representatives of different transportation sectors can significantly decrease the time spent, those misunderstandings that exist and that hinder the pace of export. And our institute has offered that several times. So there could be two tools for the supporting of the necessary level of safety and security. These can be some joint programs in the postgraduate format or in training sessions. And the military, for example, has some exercises and drills. And to ensure a proper interaction between all participants of the process, for them to have common understanding and not to have any problems with different regulations of different sectors. And not to waste time, we can have such solutions. There is one more possibility, and it has been already initiated by Coast Guard. At the State Management Institute, one of the officers, second rank Captain Denis Ryzhovt, has his master degree in the area of proper organization of interaction of different stakeholders of the process without changing their sectoral status. And to those responsible for operative control on behalf of these different ministries and institutions in Ukraine can undergo some crew changes to ensure interoperability. Everyone knows how to shoot, but we should have some reconciliation and enlightenment for all these people to shoot at one direction. So we can offer some reconciliation training here to ensure safety and security along the whole grain route under conditions of the export agreements. There are exporters who are owners of grains, and they're responsible for all stages of transportation, like freight, insurance, etc. And everyone who is involved in these activities should know each other well, to have personal contacts. Oleksandr, I have a question about alternative routes. You've mentioned that this could be the Danube ports, but we know that they're suitable only for small vessels or boats and barges. Sulin estuary is the access to Galatia and Braille. These are two big ports with the capacity of 25,000. And this is quite a significant size for vessels to call. So they are called handymaxes, up to 25,000 tons. We have some small river capacities that we must use anyway. Because when it comes to Odesa ports along the coastline of our region, Zatoka and Belgorod-Dnestrovsk, it is in the area which is reachable by our enemy in terms of attacks. But if we use railways transport to supply goods to Giurgiulești, Runim, or to Romanian ports like Galați or Braila, we can intensify the loading of the master line vessels in territorial waters of Romania, which is safer than to do this in Reni, Izmail, Kilia, Uzdunaisk, where the enemy can attack us in the framework of the so-called liberation operation. So we can see that Romanians are, so to say, tolerant to those debris, drones, or missiles that reach their territory. But Russia will not dare to attack Romania directly, because Romania is a NATO member state, because it is politically protected. And the short question, the last one. As of today, there is the temporary corridor visited by the armed military services of Ukraine. And around 20 vessels has already used that corridor after Russia left the initiative. Is it a success? How do you think? I believe that this is a good result under the current condition, but this is not the whole capacity of this water route. But here we should speak about efficient management and time management, not to waste time. For the vessels to go in a row, following that route under more or less in the more or less protected environment. This is the reserve that we still can use. We don't have any other water access to the ports of NATO member states. So we can go to the upper part of the Danube to reach the coast of the former Yugoslavia, the sea coastline. But they should improve the infrastructure facilities there on the coast. There could be trucks or other transportation or equipment. So there is even the project to form the navigation canal between the rivers of Yugoslavia. But you understand that we need 2 years to build such a canal. That's why it's just the solution for the future, but not for now. So we need to improve interaction between civilians and the military. We still have some room for the improvement, and we can try to find the possibilities to intensify activities there. I have contacts with the military and with the civilian crews. That's why I promote such interaction. And something is done, but there is still room for the improvement. Thank you, Oleksandr, for being with us today. That was Oleksandr Yatsenko, rector of the Odesa Institute of Maritime Management and Enterprise. We will continue our work at noon. Stay tuned.